So today we've got this SWR meter, which is of course an industrial one. So an SWR meter is actually called a reflectometer. It's looking at reflected power. And this is a Pye one from the 1970s. And you can see that just like a CB SWR meter, it's got forward, reflect, calibrate and VSWR, which is voltage standing wave ratio. It's got two ranges. Business radios in the UK normally are not going to be more than 25 watts, but there may be some base stations that exceed that. I've never seen that, so I don't think I've ever seen a system greater than 40 watts. So you've got two ranges, 75 watts and 150. So what the thing to do here is, because it's intended for use between 68 and 174 megs, so it covers our VHF low band, which is in the 66 to 88 meg range, and it covers the VHF high band, which is the kind of 165 to 173 type of range. We also have VHF mid band, so it does cover that as well. But as a radio amateur, it's going to cover 4 meters, 70 megs, and it's going to cover 2 meters, 145 megs. So it's a useful thing, but it can't be used on a CB radio because it doesn't measure under 68 megs. And by having it in a limited band, you're not reading the interference. So when you go into power, you're not reading all the spurious emissions and things. It's come with the service manual. This is on behalf of a customer, and this is typed back in the times when there were typewriters. Interestingly, it says 50 or 75 ohms, so that's taking us back to, well, when did it go? When did it go from 75 ohms to 50 ohms? I don't know, but it did. Accuracy 10%. So how to calibrate it? What we're going to do, I'm going to set it up with, oh, we can do some square roots, can we? Great. And there we've got a circuit diagram, a couple of presets, a couple of variable capacitors, a couple of germanium sensor diodes, and I expect some kind of trough line to do the actual measuring, and we've got a switch here with a resistor, so that's our range. So there isn't a high range adjustment, or it looks to me from this that there's just the one adjustment. For power is what I'm talking about. There we go. Now to have the service manual. I will scan that and then we have it for future reference. So the next thing to do is to take the screws out and lose them. Now I used to have a screwdriver on here which did ordinary screws. I'll tell you what we could do before we even open it up. We could dig out a radio for 6 meters and we'll connect this to our test set and we'll connect it with a fly lead to our radio and we'll see what our test set says. We'll see what this says. So that's going to take probably half an hour to set up that test. Right, so we've managed to get some leads together. What I've decided to use is, if you just show that, Maxon PM100. We were working on these the other week. You remember we were donated one. This is one I'd bought off eBay at some point, but there's a fault on the receiver. The detector core's knackered, and well, it's not worth fixing, is it? So transmit works on this, so we may as well, if it's been programmed. I've got this knackered Maxon mic, so we can use that as well just to set the thing into transmit. There we go. I didn't think I needed to switch the other bank of cameras on, but you know what? I do, because I want to see the frequency counter on the test set. So I'll switch picture in picture on. So I've got the PM100 on, hopefully on 2 meters, so 145 point something. I've got it into the input. I've got this connected to my test set, which of course in turn has got an internal dummy load. So we'll just make sure that's turned down. What on earth's that doing? There's a lead there which I don't know what it goes to. I'll have to explore that. Make sure the test set's in the 30 watt rep mode, because what we can do with this PM100, we can fiddle about with the power from hopefully from 5 watts up to 30. Okay, it says it's transmitting, but nothing is happening. Okay, what we're going to do is eliminate the power meter, and we'll just go straight in to the set. Yes. So 145 point. I just trim this so that it's say it's a set which is just going to end up as a spares thing, but I don't think I'd have paid much for it. Probably something like £6.50. So we'll put it on frequency. So these reflectometers are fine if you're into amateur radio. So it's going to cover 4 meters, 2 meters, but it is not suitable for CB. So don't go buying it if that's what you're into. Won't quite go on frequency, but that's near enough. I'll just see what another channel does. The test set's not been on that long. It's not far out, not far enough out to not be usable, but it isn't usable because the receiver's knackered. So 145.5, which is S20 in this calling channel. So let's go to the power meter on the test set. So that's back to the main meter. We're on the 30 watt scale. So 30 watts full scale deflection, so 25 is there. So set's doing 22 at the moment. So I need to try and remember which is power on these. I don't think I've much remembering to do, because it's those two. One's for the high power and one's for the low power, because you can set the channels to like 1 to 5 watts and 1 to 25 watts. So it doesn't matter what I mess up, as I say, it's effectively a scrap set. So that is 25 watts. So there we go. But this reflectometer isn't reading at all. So, having done the proof that the radio is transmitting, once again we'll connect. I mean, the first thing that could be amiss is what we get on the back of CBs, and that is that the connectors are so loose that we're not getting anything in. I'll do the same with the other side. I better check this lead for continuity, because that's our other unknown variable. Perhaps this lead's kicking around because it's faulty. So earth to earth sounds like a quote from a funeral, doesn't it? Well, I'm not getting earth to earth. And what about inner to inner? I'm not getting inner to inner either. So our patch lead is broken. That's where our problem lies. So I'll pause the video. This feels less firm than the other one, so we'll go for this end first. Right, that should be fixed. So I've guessed which end was dodgy and I was right. So inner to inner, inner to outer, nothing, outer to outer. Good. So that's fixed the dodgy power patch lead as well. Right, let's try again. Yes. Forward. Oh, we want to be on the 75 watt scale, don't we? Or is it calibrate? It's calibrate. For SWR, should be perfect, which it is. And forward should read 25. It reads about 29. What happens if we go to the 150 watt scale? Will it still calibrate? Ooh, just. And forward power says about 27 watts. So yeah, it's there. So it's slightly out. It's reading high, did we say? Let's go back to where we were because I've already forgotten. Calibrate. Yeah, it's 25 watts on. Well, we've now got an insertion loss. It's now showing us 23 watts on my test set. We'll take the screws out. All I've got is precision screwdrivers. I don't know whether we're going to be able to do that. So the measuring lines in the box, all beautifully screened. So where's our two presets? Don't tell me they're in the box. Ah, that's our preset, isn't it? Yeah, it's simply there. Calibrate. We're still in the right calibrate position. Forward power. Hopefully I can turn that. Yep. It's 25. That's it. So we'll try this at some other levels. So on the main test set, let's just turn this radio to a different power level. Use the proper trimmer seeing as we've got it. So we're now at 5 watts. Let's go through calibrate again. So it isn't going to calibrate at 5 watts. So what's the lowest it'll calibrate at? $12 watts is the lowest it'll calibrate at. And we're getting about 13 on there, so that's fine. You see, they did other SWR meters, so if you're doing radios with lower power, they do other power meters. So it's to be noted that it needs to be 12 watts. I wonder if it says this in the book. There's the meter. Yeah, I mean, it says 0 to 75 watts, but you can't calibrate. The lowest value of RF power is about 12 watts. There you go. So that's important to note. And so it's no good for your QRP. I said there are other ones available from Pye which will do less, because some business radio systems are 5 watts. So clearly this is more set up towards base stations where you're going to be having 25 watts. There were some big systems, but more power, but not in what we do, or probably with police. Let's do another power level. So turn this down. Let's see what this radio is. Let's go up to 30 watts if we can. It'll do just more than 30 watts, so we'll take it to 30 watts. And on this meter, let's see what happens. Calibrate, and forward power, and it's settling as it cools down to the 30 watts, so it's well within that 10%. So we're done. put the screws back. So if he was struggling with it, the things here is, it may well have been that he was trying it on a radio system that was less than 12 watts. And of course you can only use it between the frequencies it says, 68 to 174. So it's no good for UHF and it's no good for CB. So there we go. I said we had one of these when I worked at Nottingham Radio, but Mr. Smith said it wasn't that accurate. But of course we didn't have the service manual, and there you go, no calibration. So that's really nice to have, and we'll get that back to the customer. I'll try and fit in a CB video today, but it's now what, something like 6th, 7th, 8th of something like that of December, and we're starting with carol services, so as far as church work goes, of course that's increased. So there you have it, the Pye reflectometer type RFL1, 68 to 88 megs, and from 12 watts to 150. Thanks for watching.